石头城堡，这里是 Intramuros Manila 的石头城堡，它是 Manila 的顶级旅游热点，然后它的北边就是有这个包 Santiago。Arguably, Manila's #1 tourist hotspots is Intramuros, and this is at the northern tip, Fort Santiago, built by the Spaniards in 1571. This fort has such a fascinating history. I will try to quickly run through the main parts of it. The fort was originally fenced with a structure of logs and earth during its early construction, but a Chinese pirate called Li Maohong attacked and destroyed the fort sometime in 1574. Between 1589 and 1592, the fort was reconstructed and reinforced with the use of carved stones and mud cement. In 1645, a great earthquake destroyed most of the structure, but the Spaniards again repaired and restored the fort in 1658. During the British occupation of the country in 1762, Fort Santiago was used as their headquarters. The United States purchased the Philippines from Spain for $20 million as per the 1898 Paris Treaty. The US military quickly took over the fort as their headquarters. When the Japanese occupied the Philippines in 1942 during World War II, the Japanese military used the fort as their base, where they imprisoned, tortured, and executed hundreds of Filipino civilians and guerrillas. The US Liberation Forces came to Manila in 1945 and battled the Japanese, damaging the fort severely. Later it was used as a depot of the US Transportation Corps. In 1946, the US military turned over Fort Santiago to the Philippine government. Then the Philippine government formally declared the entire structure as a shrine of freedom in 1950. Finally, in 1992, the National Park Development Committee effected turn over the fort to the newly established Intramuros administration. Fort Santiago is also the place where Philippine hero Jose Rizal was imprisoned prior to his execution. His bone with a bullet wound was enshrined in a glass urn and placed in Fort Santiago as a secular relic. This has become one of the many historical items now on display in the fort's museum. I think the best way to get to the fort would be via taxi. You can also take the subway, but the subway often gets very overcrowded. And when you get to the closest station, there's still a bit of walking to be done. Alternatively, if you are adventurous, why don't you take a ferry? All of the ferries running on the Pasig River drive northwards towards the Intramuros Ferry port station. The weather is actually nice and cool today because there's a bit of a drizzle, but I can imagine when the sun shines it gets really hot out here. So when you do come, make sure that you bring a hat, wear some sunscreen, and definitely bring 1 or 2 bottles of water.